Hi, I'm Mark Keene from Keene Engineering, and I'm here today to do a quick setup on one of our firefighters and go over a couple of the basic setup procedures and some of the newer features that we're offering now. As you can see, the machine comes pretty much assembled with a few minor assembly items. I'm going to attach the ball valve to the pump with a pipe nipple into our full port ball valve. By the way, a full port ball valve just basically means it's open all the way through. There's no restrictions, because in any kind of a firefighting application or any kind of pumping application, you don't really want to have any elbows or tight turns. You want to keep everything nice and smooth so you get your optimum flow. So to attach this device, I'm just going to grab a little Teflon tape. Either Teflon tape or a little pipe dope would be fine. Okay. Yeah, see, we have to take this part off for shipping purposes. So usually if we get it, you get it delivered or we ship it to you, you'll have to attach this whole system here. Okay, so let me get a pipe wrench. Let's see if I can do this without falling in the pool. It's happened before.
It is.
I can be a little clumsy at times. And when I'm done, I like to have my ball valve. This is my ball valve control. I like to have it up on top so it's easy to spot. You'll notice it says off and on here, so that's in the off position and that's in the on position. Pretty simple. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to attach, this is your priming hose. I'm just going to attach this to the side here. And this tightens up. Not everybody will appreciate this, but this little Y ball valve it's not like one you buy in Home Depot or a conventional store. It's all brass. Even the balls internally are brass, because this thing might sit for 10, 20 years before you even use the system. So we put all the best quality components we can, so down the road you don't have to have things fail at you at the wrong time. So again, this is an all brass mechanism, brass balls and everything else, so it should last for a long time. Now, the machine comes with I believe it's like a 15-foot piece of hose. And what we like to do is I typically recommend that the customers just keep this. This is like a heavy-duty double-walled hose. A fire hose, really good stuff, high quality, but once you open a hose up, you're exposing it to the atmosphere, and if you leave it, you don't wrap it up just right, it's kind of a pain. So I tend to like to keep it sealed up in the box. In fact, if it was mine, I'd probably even wrap it up with some better tape and keep it hermetically sealed. Keep it away from rats and environmental things like chlorine around a pool, that type of thing. So you want to keep everything as fresh as you can. This is the hose you're going to actually work day to day with, though, or during your testing. Now, something else too, on the firefighting systems, we always use what's called as a fire thread. Okay, so if the fire department ever wants to come in, they can just tap right into that outer thread and actually use your system to put out a fire. And what's nice about the fire threads, it's a really coarse thread and pretty easy to tighten. You don't really need any tools because you have a big thick rubber gasket. Just a good hard twist with your hand, you're not going to get any leaks out of it. Okay, so this is your priming hose. Okay, and in here, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's actually a check valve in here. I don't know if you can hear this or not, but you can kind of hear the valve flapping back and forth. Okay, so when I put this in the water and the hose fills up, you'll see the water staying. I can see the water level there. So what I like to do to start priming it, I'll actually just take the entire hose and I'll submerge it completely underwater. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll just take it, slide it on the pump. And by the way, this is a brand new feature we put on the pumps. We actually have a cam lock fitting, which is really nice. So the idea is you don't want to have to take any tools out. You want to grab your gas, pour it in, and you want to go to work. So I'm going to slide this on. Push on your ears. When you close your two, I call them rabbit ears, you want to have a nice even force. You don't want to just try one side then the other. Push them in together, then it goes on much easier. Okay, and really that's about the quick and dirty basic assembly. So when you also get one, you'll find out that there's no gas and there's no oil. So I'm going to go put some oil in here real quick. I'm just going to take a basic oil, like a 1030. Knowing how clumsy I am, I'm going to take some preventive measures. Okay. Since we're down in this area, you'll notice that we equipped this with some nice big heavy-duty rubber feet. So when the machine runs, you're resting on your two tires and also the rubber feet here, so it doesn't tend to want to walk around the yard. You know, I've seen some guys have like a hard base and they tend to kind of walk around. This thing stays nice and steady. So I don't know the exact amount of oil that it holds, but I know it's less than a quart. And it does come with a set of instructions. And from experience, I already know when you add the oil into these things, you fill it up to about the middle of the threads. I just had a guy last week call me, and I shipped it to him, and he goes, the machine won't start. And I go, well, did you check the oil? And he goes, there's oil in it. I said, no, there's no oil in it. So anyways, the guy, he went and added oil, and then he called me back. He goes, okay, I didn't have the oil. Fortunately, since we have a nice high-end Honda motor here, they come with a low oil switch. So if the oil is too low, the engine won't start up. So always make sure you add your oil. Get one more paper towel here. Here we go. You guys have any questions, just jump in there.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're doing good. I think I watched the one with your brother.
That was me.
Oh, that was you.
That was me.
Well, you're doing better.
I always like to hear that.
No, you got more detail than you had in that one. But that's what sold me. You know, you guys sold me all this stuff.
Well, you know, a lot of guys don't really understand that if you want the system to live, there's procedures, you know, and if you don't pay attention to the procedures, which I'll get into, this thing will be gone in two to 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys going out buying these Chinese motors and pumps and the import stuff. It doesn't hold up. Because if you don't have certain things that you add into the pump, like a drain petcock, and you don't follow the things, the proper steps, then you're going to fry your pump in no time. Okay. So I've got my oil. I'm up to about just a couple threads down from the top, or halfway up those threads is kind of how I set it. So when you look down the stem, you'll see a section about 1 inch in threads. I usually have my oil climb about halfway up the threads. You can go a little higher, you're okay, but you don't want to go too much. I was at a guy's house probably about 6 months ago, and he wanted me to come out and fix it for him. So I said, okay, I'm going to go surfing, and I'll go out and look at it right afterwards. He was over in Malibu. And he had so much oil in it, when I opened up the cap, it just spewed oil everywhere. I go, well, there's your problem. You know, when you try to put too much oil in it and you go to pull the motor, it floods the piston with oil. So didn't do what it was supposed to do. So I got lucky. I didn't spill too much here. Okay, let's get this up. This is perfect what you guys did. You got the 4-cycle high performance fuel, and the difference is that this stuff has probably I don't have my reading glasses on, but it probably has like a 10-year shelf life. It'll hold up.
Yeah.
So that the nice thing about using this, if you do leave it in your engine, it's not going to fry your carburetor. Because if you take your standard conventional
Oh, is that
gas,
right? That one?
oh yeah, no, this won't. But you still want to burn the gas at least.
Right.
Always burn the gas out. Just
But
get
I
in the
admit that.
yeah. Well, I mean, for testing purposes, I'm going to pour maybe a quarter of the can into the unit. So that's smart what you just said. We're just going to do a little bit, and if I need more gas, I'll pour it in there. But you should have, probably 4 of these, maybe 6 of these.
I don't know, I'm going to buy a case of them.
There you go.
Your brother told me about it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not that smart. I can't figure it all out myself.
Okay, so I'm just going to add some of this canned fuel in here. That's probably about a third or so, a quarter. I pour it in there. But I mean, the absolute there's 2 problems you have with a firefighter. Okay. Number 1 problem, three potential problems. Number 1 is fuel. People, and my dad did the same thing. He fired it up at the beginning of the fire season, and he went ahead and left fuel in the carburetor. And he knows better too. We've had this conversation with him, but he forgot one of the 2. And his motor wouldn't start 3 months later. So this big that methanol fuel just collects almost like a kind of a yellow resin in the carburetor, and it plugs up the orifices, all the little ports inside it. And then next thing you know, you can't get your engine started. So this motor's never been started. So I just added fuel. Now on the side of the motor, you've got a fuel on and off. You want to take a look over here real quick. Okay, so you got a couple things. You can come on over here, don't worry about it. So you got an on-off switch. So we are off and on is down. Okay.
On is down.
Right, and I'm not going to start it yet, but I just want to give you the basics. So you have a fuel on and off. So it says fuel on this direction. That's choke off and that's choke on. Okay, and this is your throttle lever. Pretty simple stuff, right? So typically with these motors, I like to start them probably around quarter throttle, not much higher. And also, so now we're getting ready to start, but we're gonna set up our hoses first. So I got my hose here. So you always want to take, whether you're dealing with a little piece or a longer section, you want to make sure your hose is laid out and it's straight. Okay. And there's a shut-off position here. I hope I did it right. We'll find out. But I think it is because there's not as much space here. So I'm going to lay this out nice and flat. Okay. Now, who can I knock in the water with the hose?
Well,
Brandon, you want to get wet?
yeah. There we go.
No?
I'll hold the phone.
We'll throw the young kid in the water. So this position here is a on and off valve. So I'm going to close this right now. Okay. So I'm going to make sure it's closed. Over here, we have an accessory garden hose port. So let's just say, for example, if you guys are in the heat of the moment and you want to hook up like whatever garden hoses you have laying around the house, well, you can hook up a hose to this and you'll have, 35, 45, probably 45, 50 psi coming off this port right here. So you can open and close this as need be, okay? But for now, I have a cap on it. Doesn't matter if it's open or closed, but it's open, so it makes no difference. This one here is the one you use to prime the pump with, okay? So I forget which position is open, but what I can do is I can grab this lever here in the back. Hey, Brandon, come around this side, and when you guys come over here, I'll show you. Okay, just pull gently on this real quick. See, it's kind of hard. Not sideways. Pull straight out.
That way.
Yeah, feel it's kind of hard. Okay, don't go any harder. So that tells me that this ball valve is closed. So now I'm going to take this little valve here, and I'm going to open it. Okay, now pull it. Feels different now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to now take this, and we're going to pump it. See, it's getting harder and harder. I can feel it. Okay, we're almost there. See the water squirting at the bottom?
Oh, okay.
I'm primed. So now I'm going to push this back up. By the way, you never jerk this thing hard. You could break this mechanism. Okay. So you want to pull it gently, smooth, and I only have like maybe half a dozen strokes, not even a full stroke in there. Okay, so now I could leave this valve open, but I'm going to close it. Okay. If you left it open, when you start the engine, it's going to blow water out the bottom, so you really don't need that. So I'm just going to close it now. Okay. So let's go ahead. So the engine's never been started. I might have to give it a couple pulls. So I'm going to go over it again. My on-off switch is in the on. My choke is in the on. My fuel is, and I'm about a quarter throttle. Okay. That's where you buy Hondas, right? So I'm going to take my choke off. We're ready to go. That was too easy, right? Okay, so it's a brand new engine, so I'm not going to go wide open right now. You should probably let the engine run a little bit, but I'm going to go and open this valve now. See the hose coming through there? Pressurizing it. So now your hose has got a wreck, so you can tell that you're fine. So I'm not going to rev it up yet. I'm just going to play with the hose for a second. So you can actually adjust the spray like a fine mist to a distance. Yeah, that's it. All I'm doing is twisting it.
Put that nozzle on the hose.
It's going to do just the same. It actually may do a little bit, well, we're at an idle, okay? This goes on that 100 foot. Yeah, and again, it's all fire thread, so everything is universal. Okay? So, again, see, this is a good hose, but it's not really a fire hose. So it tends to kink. The double wall hose I have in there doesn't tend to kink as either. Plus, we're running at an idle. Once you rev the whole system up, which I'm going to do in a moment, the hose will probably not tend to kink as much. But even with 100 foot of hose, before you fire it up, you want to roll the hose up, I'd probably jump in the pool, roll it across you, whichever direction you want to go, and have it all laid out. You don't want to later do it, you know. Okay, so. So I took it full throttle, and then I backed the throttle off about 90%. So wide open and pull it down about 10%. Usually where I like to run it. You see how the hose went straight now too. It's great that this was good. So you can see it's easy to handle with the adjustable nozzle. Okay, you can have your 100 footer, have it wide open. And a question I get all the time is, can I run the engine wide open and have this nozzle shut off? Or yeah, that's a common question. So that's a good one. Let me shut this off. Interesting is you can shut the hose. You can run the engine wide open and have it set down like a half hour. You're not going to hurt anything. You're not going to hurt anything. There's a weird phenomenon that happens in the pump, though, is since you have an impeller spinning inside a pump housing, okay, and it's a tight tolerance pump. That's why it pumps such high volumes and high pressures. is that it generates friction, and you'll actually walk up to the pump housing. Right now it's cold, but if you let it run for like a half hour, that pump housing will actually start to generate heat from the friction of the water.
Yeah, because it's not getting the fresh
there's no water flowing through it. So even if you have a little bit of water flowing through it, you're fine.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just to keep it cool.
Right.
Okay.
And by the way, this hose is pretty light here too. It's not that heavy. You know, so this weighs, you know, about probably 20 pounds.
As you say, when I'm spreading it out, I should jump in the pool and take it all the way across?
Yeah, I'd just roll it all the way out. I'd probably roll along either probably that side of the pool is what I would do.
Okay.
You know?
I wasn't going to jump in the pool. I mean, I'm not a swimmer like you.
You got a beautiful pool. You should do it. So you understand what priming means now, right?
Oh, no, I understand what priming.
Okay. Now, since we're talking about priming, here's a big don't. You don't want to run the pump without water going through it. Now, if you don't want to hassle with the pressure hose and the foot valve, you can shove like a garden hose and let the garden hose just run in through this opening here. Let that run for a couple minutes, and fire it up. Just let it run for like, you know, a minute, 2 minutes. You're fine to do that. See, you got inside the pump, you got a back plate and you got an impeller, right? Well, the seal between the two is called a pump seal, and you have a white, kind of like a white ceramic, highly polished surface on the back of the impeller. And in the back plate, you have a carbon-faced, like a friction. It's a carbon-faced seal. And when the two press together, the water is the lubricant between the two. But if that seal starts to fail, you'll actually see water squirting out like around the shaft area. You'll know you have a problem. So if you ever see water coming out the shaft, give me a call. We'll get you a new pump seal. You can fix it yourself. You can bring it to us. It's pretty easy to repair on your own. But again, that typically never happens unless it's like 20 years old, or the guy is, or you run it without water all the time. So
I would take the garden hose and put it in here so that. Now, why would I do that? I mean, that's.
Oh no, I'm saying if when you want to just test the engine by itself.
Oh.
If you don't want to hassle hooking this stuff up and that, you would take that fitting. In fact, I'll tell you, do you have a garden hose I can borrow real quick?
Yeah.
Some water. I'll show you how to do a shutdown procedure. A little more room here. All right, that's perfect. Okay, just turn it on a little bit for me. So what I'm going to show you here is how to see inside the pool water. You have chlorine, other miscellaneous chemicals, and
Salt water.
Oh, it's salt water. Okay, you guys are different, but still, the salt water is not exactly good for it either. You know, so you don't want to leave salt or chlorinated water inside the pump. I just, you know, like I said, I've been selling these things I'm 60 now, and I've been selling when I was like 16 years old. I used to put these together when I was a kid. So I've sold a few of these over the decades. And my dad was selling them before me, so we've been doing it for a while. But you don't want to leave the pool water, salt water inside the pump housing. See, the pump housing is actually constructed of like a T6 heat-treated aluminum, so it's pretty robust stuff. But again, when you have chlorinated water especially, that chlorine or the salt is going to oxidize the impeller. The impeller came in, it was full of like a white crust, and so we heated it and cooled it, and wire brush, we were able to salvage the impeller. But even at 20 years old, the rest of the impeller looked perfect because it was out of the water. So simply, if you just flush your pump after each test run, you won't have a problem. Now, to flush a pump, it's pretty simple. All you do is, well, first of all, if we're going to run it, I'm going to let it run out of gas. I'm not going to just shut it off. We're doing a demo, so it's different. But if we were doing, if you guys were on your own, I'd say let the engine. Just take this hose, throw it in the pool, let it flow water back into the pool until that engine's completely out of fuel. That's the way that I would do it myself. Okay.
You take which
Yeah, here, I'll tell you what. Grab that hose. Okay. Stretch it out again. I'll fire this up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, add an idle. Sit like that for about an hour or a half hour, however long it takes to run all that fuel out.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So That way, and it doesn't hurt to run the engine like that.
The winner with that shot, but never gonna have it run.
Exactly. Okay, so let's say we ran out of gas. Okay, and when it runs out of gas, it'll sound just like it does now, but then it's gonna go, it'll just kind of and then shut down. So now we're gonna do a shutdown procedures. And again, these little tricks, 20 years down the road, you know, not that we'll be around then.
Not me.
I may not be here either.
I will.
You will. But 20 years down the road, whatever, your pump will still be like new. Okay. So to do it, usually you don't lift it up like this, but I'm just gonna kind of show you. If you look down here, you have a drain petcock.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna just crack that open, screw it in. I'm gonna put the pump housing back down. Okay. Now the hose is heavy when you take it off. You just gotta here's
Reverse
the foot valve. I gotta reverse that flow going through there. So now I can take this out. Okay. So now the pump is drained, but I'm gonna now put my garden hose in here. I'm just gonna shove it in the intake. So I'm just pumping a little water into the pump, and it's draining out almost as fast as I'm pumping it in. You can actually see it squirting out here if you want to get a picture of that ran out the bottom. Okay, so that's probably plenty of flushing, so I'm just gonna take this, throw it back in the pool. I'm gonna let the pump housing completely drain.
Wow, that's simple.
Yeah, but here's the only trick to it. You have to remember to close it. If you don't close it, you go to prime it, the damn thing won't prime. This thing's broken. No, you gotta close that valve. You forget.
I mean, when you close the petcock.
The petcock, exactly. So now that it's drained, I'm just gonna reset, open it all, close it all the way up. And now that's it. We're ready to, now you can disconnect your hose and put it away, whatever you want to, but does that all make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Is there anything you don't feel comfortable with?
Well, now, how do I take gasoline out of the tank? I mean,
we're not going to take the gas out. We're gonna let it run over there.
I don't know. If fire season, I'm going to fill it up, aren't I?
In fire season, yeah, I'd probably have it filled up, especially with that good fuel you have. You can get away with it.
Well, this is fire season. Why don't you just leave it?
We can, but if it's because you guys bought the good fuel, you can do it. Okay. If you had regular fuel, that'd be a disaster.
Right.
But I kind of feel strongly about just burn all the fuel out right now, and just have the can next to it that you can fill it up quickly.
That's just good for a year.
Yeah, but in a tank, it can lose some of its strength. That's just my own opinion. I mean, you guys can do what you're comfortable with either way.
Well, I mean, how long is this thing going to run with a full tank? If I filled it up?
Probably about 3 hours. It's going to run a long time.
So, you're saying at the end of fire season, then?
Yeah, at least at the end of fire season, burn all the gas out of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, during what? How long is fire season? 3 or 4 months?
Well, yeah, living in California a little longer, maybe.
January.
So, but what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to hook it back up again, I'm going to have you do the whole thing on your own, okay? Did I tell you guys it was going to be a test?
No, yeah, that's right.
And we're done filming, right? This is the part that's not going to be on YouTube.
No, this is the part. All right, guys, it's all yours. Tell me what to do.
Okay. Well, so what's the start condition of the thing? I mean.
Okay, what I would do is I just make sure all my hoses are connected and make sure.
I'm going to bring it out.
Okay.
I've added it right, and I'm going to bring it out.
All right, so you're going to bring it out. You're going to have your hose is still sealed up.
Right.
Okay. If we have a fire coming, we're going to roll the hose out and leave it stretch across your yard. Okay. If we're just testing like we did today, you're just going to bring out the short hose and you're going to run that. So your first step is I'm probably going to hook up my hoses. So go ahead and hook up your pressure hose.
Yeah. This hose right here.
Right.
Is that called a pressure hose?
That's your pressure or your discharge hose. get one good crank on it. Okay, those are fire threads. They're pretty strong. You don't have to muscle it.
Good.
Okay.
And that's open. That's right. Is that the way we want it? Open.
To start off, I usually close it. So let's close it. Now, by the way, if you did have it open, it would probably still work. It just means that you'd have to pull that lever a few more times.
Yeah.
So let's hook up our pressure hose. So I'll give you a hand with this. I mean, not a pressure hose, but our foot valve and hose assembly. So remember what I told you?
Yep.
Just stick the whole thing in the water.
Then dip it down.
Let it fill up all the way. And by the way, you see how your pool deck is nice and short here?
Yeah.
It's easier to prime it here than it would be over there, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because that means you have to go up higher. So I'm going to take this whole thing underwater. And again, remember I told you about the ears? Get them both evened up.
Yeah.
So let's close them down just a little bit on each side. It takes a little bit of muscle to do it. So you got to kind of get in there and push hard. Okay. Now, let's talk about our valves down there. Where do you think those are supposed to be set? So
Well,
this.
we want this open, right?
Well, I actually want that closed.
Okay.
It works both ways, but closed makes it easier.
Okay.
So, what's that? Go ahead.
We're going to prime it.
Right, we're going to prime it. So I'm going to pull this lever, and it doesn't pull. So open that valve.
Yeah.
This one. Yep, I can pull it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to see. You can see the air in the hose there, right? What I'm trying to do is suck all that air out. So I'm even sucking air through this hose here. So I'm going to pull a couple more times. So I have a nice, even.
Okay. Well, start water.
Yeah, plenty of water's coming out. So now I'm going to close this, okay? And so close your ball valve. Perfect. Okay, let's start the engine.
Let's see. Well, now I don't have to prime it.
Nope, you're primed. We just primed it. On position.
Yeah, well, where's those?
Well, you're like me. You probably have to have your reading glasses on. I can't see it. There you go. On. Okay.
That's it. Okay, so it's on. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Perfect.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just pull it.
Oh.
Let's see. The throttle is.
Throttle's up about quarter throttle, hopefully.
Okay.
Now, I wouldn't pull it from there. Look, when you go to start an engine like this, here, let me.
Yeah.
I'll start it for you this time. But what you can't do, you can't just pull it from the side. You got to get down your hands and knees. I put one hand on the gas tank here, and then I get.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you told me that.
If you try to pull it from here, the whole machine's going to bounce around.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and start it now. Make sure that's on. Go on. Okay. So get one hand on the motor, not the muffler, obviously.
Yeah. Right. Oops.
But you got to throw your body into it.
Yeah, right.
You got to whoa. You can't be faster. You got to go for it.
I was really scared.
Well, maybe when you have a fire coming, that arm strength, you'll forget it.
The adrenaline will take over.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. All right. So now, next thing we're going to do is open the ball valve. And you can just print it out. And I actually have a little poop sheet on that gives you, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I would do with me, I'd probably laminate it, put it like in a piece of plastic, and maybe just stick it right here.
Yeah, right.
That way, if you forget a step or something, it has a little bit of troubleshooting built in.
You're not going to forget to send me that, though, right?
Well, if I do, you're going to call me.
Right. I got your number.
We all need backups planned. And speaking of backup, one more thing.
Look what happened to me when I was 1 minute late.
When you priming is relying on that this device here working.
Right.
Okay. If it's not working, there's still Plan B and a Plan C. Okay. What you can do is, you see that other garden hose port there? You can hook your garden hose port to that, and you can pump water in that way, and that will flood the pump so you can prime it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Another
Well,
method.
you told me before, right?
Right. And there's another method too, is that I won't use the term I normally use, but you take that foot valve, and since there's a check valve, you can take that. If let's say if this is my water level here, I would take that foot valve and I'd put it underwater, and I would thrust it forward, because every time you push it forward, it's going to fill that hose up, and you pull it back, the water stays. I push it forward, the hose fills up more, and you keep doing that until you get until the entire pump is full of water. Once it's full of water, then you're primed. So if this fails, you have a Plan B here.
Right.
If that fails, you have a Plan C. There's always a nice backup system. But again, don't run the pump if there's no water, you know. And if you do just want to do a quick test fire, just throw some put that hose like you did on that one and just let it run. You can let it run for a minute or two. It's not going to hurt it.
And we'd probably want to put it down here in the deeper space, right?
Yeah, but I forget the amount of gallons per minute. You got like something like 27,000 gallons of water here, some crazy number.
This is 20,000.
20,000?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
I would probably put it towards the deep end, definitely. But I think that's about it. So you guys both pretty comfortable now?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
a lot more comfortable. I mean,
So I got to get to work, guys, but tear it all apart and play with it,
yeah.
you know? And if you want to open the hose, check it out, but just seal it back up. Because, again, you don't want to let the rats get to it, or the mice, or bugs, or anything else, you know? And that's what's nice about that hose there, that, you know, it'll last you decades, you can take care of it.
Okay.
Now, you guys bought the foam system too, I think.
Right.
I didn't bring it. I'm out.
I know. It's 4 days.
But
Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to see. Where does that go in?
it goes right on see that nozzle there? You unscrew that nozzle, and it screws right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's just, there's like a big, 5-gallon bucket.
No, I don't use any of that stuff. See, my dad was 80 years old when he put out a fire last time at his house. Okay. And we had one of those 5-gallon jug ones, and they work really well. I'm not going to bag on it, but it was too much for my dad. He couldn't handle it. So we bought. What I told you guys is it looks like a big bazooka. It's like a double-handed bazooka, but it doesn't weigh anything. It's light.
Right.
Okay. So what you do is you drop in it. It's kind of wild. You open it up, and it's got like a bar of soap is what I'd call it. It's about 1 inch in diameter, and it's about, I think, 12 or 14 inches long. And you drop this big soap bar in the middle of this chamber, okay?
Okay.
And as the water passes through it, it turns it mixes with the water. So you got a mixing chamber here, and then you got another chamber in the front, which is a foam chamber. Okay. And that's why it's a big double handle. But you talk about easy to use.
Right.
You know, you can go up there and it doesn't weigh anything.
Oh, okay.
And you can just throw a nice creamy foam up on the tree.
Yeah.
And the foam, it has really 2 factors why it works so well. One, it creates a foam and a barrier for the fire, but I think more so it has a surfactant or a wetting agent into it. So like, for example, that tree looks pretty damn dry right now. As soon as you squirt that tree down with the foam, that water's going to soak deep into every crack and crevices. It's going to saturate the tree, so it's going to have a lot longer protection. You know, your house is pretty secure. I mean, you got stucco walls, you got a tile roof, you know, you don't have a lot of shrubs around, but those trees are your nemesis if a fire comes.
Yeah.
You know, but by squirting the foam on it, you're going to have way more protection. And again, it's about making everything wetter.
So once I squirt the foam on, I mean, how close does the fire got to be before I start doing that?
When you get nervous?
Oh.
I mean, look, these little 1 foot long bar of soaps, I call them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not what they call them,
Right.
but for lack of better terminology, a bar of soap's going to last you like an hour.
Okay, that's good information.
And you got three
Right.
bars with it, so you're fine. You got 3 hours of laying foam out, but
Yeah, you probably won't be able to hold that thing for an hour.
yeah.
That's right.
Well, you and me.
Right? Well, I don't know. Yeah, right.
When my dad had a fire at his house, my brother and I were both there, and to this day I kick myself for not taking pictures. But that happened.
Yeah.
But my dad was out there, and he was out there for like 30 minutes, and he goes, hey boys, come help the old man. So we took over for him. But
Yeah.
so
Man, that's great.
yeah, but the foam is a great enhancement, and let's just say if you have to bail, you know, it's mandatory evacuation. At least if you squirt your house down and all the trees and your shrubs and
Sure.
the trees over here, I don't know the number. It's got like something like 10 times more protection. But
Yeah.
the main thing is it soaks in. See, when I told you the story already, but my mom had a wood shake roof at her house, and when we first tried this stuff out, the foam stuff, I squirted without the foam on her roof, and it was an old school wood shake roof. And that water came right off. I'd say 90% of the water came off. Then we hooked up the foam gun and all that fancy stuff, and then we sprayed up there, and I sprayed for like a couple minutes. Almost nothing came off the roof because of the wetting agent. Just poof, just instantly saturated and soaked into the wood shake.
Right.
Same thing with the tree.